We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every single day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Wednesday, December 4th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Kwon Ji-hyun.
Happy Hump Day!
Happy Wednesday! I'm Park Ki-yoon.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. So we're going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today, we're going to talk about a topic that has sparked heated discussions among the younger generation in Korea recently. The debate surrounding single-sex schools. Now, first of all, did you study at a female-only or a male-only school back when you were a student?
Yes, I attended a only female high school. So we call it all-girls high school,
Right.
Located in Seoul. Adults often say these schools will help you to concentrate more, a lot. You
On
can
your
study
studies.
on your studies, which influenced my choice as well. At first, it was a bit challenging to adopt since nearly everyone except the male teachers was female. And over time, though, I came to appreciate the strong sense of community and support among the students without the pressure of impressing the opposite gender. The environment felt more relaxed, and I found it easier to concentrate on my studies. And one fun aspect was how comfortable we all felt. We could eat as much as we want. We can dress not as much as, but we can wear whatever we want, including both skirts and trousers. So it was nice and not having to stress about fashion either. Some girls even turned into a playful competition to see who could go the longest without washing their hair.
Wow.
It's gross, but yes. So that said, I sometimes felt it lacked opportunity to interact with the opposite gender, which could have been helpful for building social confidence for the long period. So still, I'm not sure I would survive going back to that world now.
Well, I think you'll survive the environment very well.
Really?
And it's really interesting to hear about all those unique, pleasant experiences.
Only you can experience in a female girl schools.
It's a pity because I only went to a co-ed school from kindergarten to college, so I didn't get to experience that fun part back when I was a student. But Ki-hoon, did you have a chance to enjoy this?
Fortunately, yes, I actually experienced both co-ed and all-boys school back in Australia. So there are definitely pros and cons, like Ji-hyun mentioned, going to a single-sex school. But I think it really depends which area you talk about. For me, I remember during my school days, I didn't mind going to an all-boys high school, only because I wanted to become a professional soccer player. So I think being surrounded by guys only, the environment really helped me to really just solely focus on my training and just performing at a very highly competitive level.
Did it help?
It definitely did, because I didn't have any distractions or trying to impress any girls. That was obviously one advantage of going to a boys' school. I guess in terms of studying, there are two contradicting sides. One is obviously what just Ji-hyun mentioned. You're free from distraction from the opposite sex in classrooms and just going to school. So I guess in high school, many students go through puberty.
Right.
And that's when they actually open their eyes to the opposite sex. And that can actually really distract you from studying a bit more, because during your high school days, it's your time to prepare for the college entrance exam or 수능, called in Korea. So that could kind of hinder your studies. But on the other hand, I felt a big difference in diversity of ideas, especially in my primary school days, which was co-ed. You know how back in Australia, we had to do a lot of group projects, and I had to collaborate with a lot of girls. But that really helped me to receive feedback much quicker and be a bit more open and understanding and not being sexist. Because I remember going to a boys' school and we were very sexist, very against girls. But I think there is a big difference. But this is all just coming from my experience. So I can't really say which is better. But I guess both sides have advantages and disadvantages.
Right. So we've ended off on a very light and fun note, but going back to our main topic of the day, this debate about same-sex schools came to light a few weeks ago when students at a women's university in Seoul staged a 10-day-long protest against the school's plan to discuss admitting male students for certain departments, which is transitioning partially co-ed. So for now, the situation has settled, with the school and the student body agreeing to temporarily suspend discussions on the proposal. So kind of to give us, our viewers, an overview, can you walk us through the arguments first made by the school, and then Q, maybe you can talk about the student side?
Of course. Well, back in November 2024, one women's university in Seoul faced significant protests from students over discussions about transitioning to a coeducational institution. And if you look at the university's perspective, the administration considered admitting male students as a strategy to address declining enrollment due to the decreasing school age population. They emphasized that these discussions were preliminary and aimed at ensuring the university's long-term sustainability. The university also expressed concerns about the financial impact of the protest, estimating damages between 2.4 billion to 5.4 billion won. This estimate includes costs related to building maintenance, cleaning, and additional expenses for entrance exams. So in short, the university proposed coeducational to tackle enrollment challenges, but currently facing significant financial and practical setbacks from the protest from the students.
Right, because due to the dwindling school age population, we've seen instances where universities or schools closing down, which is, I guess, the reason why this university proposed this idea. But on the other hand, Ki-yoon, what kind of enraged the students? Why did they stage this mass protest?
So from the students' perspective, this incident all began, just like Jun mentioned, when the students discovered universities plan to convert one of its departments into coeducational.
Right.
And this spiraled into an outcry as students started protesting by staging sit-ins, laying their school jumpers in front of the main building, spray painting, and hanging banners all across the school campus, as you can see on the screen. And this forced classes to move online and a planned job fair to be cancelled. And one student council member said, quote unquote, the university's unilateral decision made without any input from the students who actually study and live here left us no choice but to raise our voices. So the students felt they were very disrespected,
Right.
neglected from decisions that seemed like it took away their educational rights and defeated the whole purpose of their initial decision to actually attend all women's university from the in the first place.
Right, so I think what really made these students angry and dissatisfied was the fact that they felt that this decision was unilateral. So looking at the bigger picture, this university, Dongdeok Women's University in Seoul, is one of the 7 remaining 4-year women's colleges in Korea. We have 7 more 2-year colleges, women's colleges in the country as well. So Ki-yoon, I think a lot of our viewers will want to know about the historical background of what kind of started women's colleges here in the country.
Of course. So the founding of women's universities here in South Korea was established in the early 20th century to create paths for women to higher education, living in a strictly patriarchal society here in Korea. So back in 1886, Iwa Hakdang, the first modern educational institution for women, was established by American missionary Mary F. Scranton. So its mission was to provide education to women, empowering them to overcome social constraints and foster leadership. So this paved the way for more women's universities to be built, which sought to advance gender equality as well and women's rights in education and society, receiving higher education in a more protected and safer environment.
Right, because back then, when the time Ki-yoon mentioned, high quality education was kind of off limits, or it was inaccessible for women, mainly due to the deep Confucianism culture here in Korea. So this is one of the main reasons why we've been seeing the rise of women's colleges here in the country. Now, I also want to ask you, Ji-yeon, have there been previous cases where women's colleges tried to transition into a co-ed school, and what were the reactions from the students at that time?
There are lots of previous cases in Korea. There have been notable cases in South Korea where women's universities transitioned to co-educational institutions. So in 1994, Hyoseong Women's University becomes Daegu Catholic University. They admitted both male and female students. And in 1996, Sangmyeong Women's University changed its name into just Sangmyeong University and transitioned into a co-educational system as well. And in 1997, Busan Women's University followed suit as well, in rebranding as Silla University and beginning to admit male students at that point. And these changes were part of a broader shift to meet changing social changes and educational needs at the same time.
Right, which is why we're seeing this debate over single-sex schools, not only here in Korea and other parts of the world. So as mentioned, single-sex schools are not unique to Korea. So after the break, we'll hear from a professor in the United States about the current state of single-sex education in other parts of the world. Stay tuned.
As of 2024, there are approximately 26 women's colleges in the United States. There used to be a lot more in the 1960s when the number was at peak, like around 280. But then afterwards, the number decreased over time. So currently, again, there are about 26 women colleges in the US. I would say the largest women's college in the States is Smith College, which offers more than 50 areas of study. There's also Wesley College, one of the top liberal arts colleges in the US. Many students who prefer women's colleges point out that these colleges have a stronger sense of belongings and support, and that graduates have a stronger collective power in the society. And I also think that in general, most women's colleges are known for offering a stronger sense of community, better mentorship opportunities, better leadership opportunities, and stronger alumni network. So the reason that the number of women's colleges decreased is because the schools either closed or transitioned to coed, meaning they started accepting male students. So one of the most recent women's college that transitioned to coeducation is Notre Dame of Maryland University. This school was the only remaining women's college in Maryland, but then they switched to coeducation just last year in 2023. The major reason they stated was that their undergrad enrollment has fallen significantly in the recent years. Another college is Mills College that transitioned to coed from all-women school. They actually have a very unique history because in 1990, Mills College announced plans to admit male students, but then students and faculty protested so that the decision was actually reversed back then. So Mills became the first women's college to reverse the decision to shift to coeducation. But then in 2017, Mills College declared a financial emergency and decided to merge with Northeastern University, which is all-gender university. There are other examples like Crest College, Vassar College, and Skidmore College. For most of these schools that went from women's college to all-gender college, many students and alumni were pretty much skeptical, critical of the decision at first, and thought that the change would conflict with the school's original core mission and identity. Well, some say that women's colleges were more necessary back in the old days where there was lack of higher education opportunities for women. So these people say women's college is no longer as necessary. However, others argue that it's still important to have women's colleges in today's society. I think that there are definitely benefits that women's colleges can bring to students nowadays. So for instance, women's colleges focus on empowering women and fostering leadership skills. So these skills can create an environment that encourages women to take on leadership roles, both on campus and in the society. So this kind of environment would definitely help prepare women to thrive. And these institutions can also provide a space where a woman feels safe to express themselves, share their experiences, and focus on their education without any potential gender biases that may coexist in coeducational settings. So it is true that many women's colleges actively engage in discussions around gender inequality, social justice, which really helps to equip students with the knowledge and skills to advocate for change. But advocates for coeducation also argue that as society evolves, coeducation can promote understanding and collaboration between genders, preparing students for diverse workplaces and environments. So ultimately, I think whether women's college are necessary in today's society will depend on individual values and experiences. For some, women's college can provide the most invaluable support and community, while for others, co-educational environments may provide a more relevant education experience.
So we heard from our expert. Now we're also going to take a listen to our viewers. We also asked them whether they see the necessity of single-sex schools and why. Let's take a look at some of their responses. If we look at the comments, Mike Choi 1577 says the more variety of higher education, the better. So it seems like you're for single-sex schools. Benny D97, I believe it's still important and necessary to have female-only colleges, especially here in my country, the Philippines. I love and respect the significance they hold in our country's history. Cappuccino 126 says the number of women-only institutions have steadily declined, reflecting how our society has evolved over time. So we've taken a look at our viewers' opinions back here in Korea. It's interesting that while we've seen many single-sex middle and high schools transition to co-ed without much opposition, the controversy around universities seems far more tense based on what we've seen in the past few weeks. So why do you think that is?
Well, if you look at the numbers, currently 66% of high schools in Korea are co-educational. In the late 1990s, however, single-sex education was the norm for high schools back in the days. Over time, growing awareness of gender equality and a declining school-age population have led many schools to change to co-ed systems. And like universities, middle and high school generally, they have to follow this rule that is known as proximity-based enrollment policy, unless they are specialized institutions. This means students are assigned to schools near their homes, near their places, rather than choosing schools based on academic performances or their personal preference. As a result, the transition to co-educational has generally been met with less resistance.
I see, because these students who chose to enroll themselves or apply for a women's university, some of them probably did because they were a women's university and they were expecting something unique coming from that environment. Now, what could be some other reasons, Q?
Yeah, just like you mentioned, students who enter university have a clearer goal as to what they actually want to achieve and study and get out of the university they want to attend because they've obviously matured more than their high school days. And plus, they have the freedom to choose which university they actually want to attend as long as their score allows them and the university accepts them. So I think transitioning a single-sex university into co-educational without any kind of negotiation from the school side, I think it would feel like a violation of obviously their values, educational rights, and maybe somewhat gender discrimination in some sense. So I think that's why we're seeing this intense backlash from the students from the women's university. I'm very neutral in this topic, but I fully understand the student side of the view. They must have felt very disrespected, but I think protesting in an intense way, but they probably thought it was the only way to actually voice their opinions.
Right, make their voices heard.
Exactly, because I heard that similar occasions happened before and they said no many times, all the time, and they try to do it again from the school side and they're saying, hey, how much more do we have to show that we're really against this decision? And I think it's good to see that they've put a hold on this decision they were trying to make. So hopefully this doesn't really change big things. Like, because I know that it's kind of spreading to other women's university and they're just, they're getting very influenced. So I think it should stop right here and just leave the university as a women's university.
Right, and because these discussions to actually transition certain departments of this university have been temporarily suspended, maybe if the school and the student body could engage in discussions in the future, we hope that they could do it in a more peaceful manner. Maybe that would be better. And ending off our discussion today, I want to ask you, what do you think the future holds for women's colleges? We still have several of them here in Korea. There are a lot of them overseas as well, as Professor Do mentioned. Do you think they'll remain as they are as women's universities, or do you think we'll see some changes?
That's quite a difficult question to answer today, but the future of women's colleges remain a topic of the ongoing debate for a while. Some argue that these institutions should embrace their historical significance and focus on preserving their legacy while adapting to modern needs, quite necessary at some point. Others believe that the necessity of women's colleges will diminish as society moves closer to full gender equality, potentially leading to their integration or closure. However, many suggest that instead of transitioning to co-ed systems, universities should prioritize strengthening their internal support for students.
I see.
And this will offer diverse opportunities and fostering unique educational environments for all of them.
And I think that if some same-sex schools have the plan to go co-ed, they should really ask the opinions of the students first, which is, I think, can lead to a more peaceful and healthy discussion from the school, between the school and the students as well. What do you think, Yoon?
You know, I'm all for the creation of women's university that started long time ago, from beginning from our society, patriarchal society. But I just wonder, once all the women graduate from a women's university, once they jump into the real jungle, the real society, they have to work with men.
It's a co-ed society.
It's a co-ed society. You'll never see a business that only hires women. If there is, I'm sorry, I'm mistaken, but I don't think, as far as I know, I don't think there is a single firm in Korea that only hires women or all men.
Right.
So I think once they experience the real world, they need to learn how to collaborate with men eventually. And if they study with just only women, I got nothing against women, but they'll build their own values within themselves, sharing common goals. But eventually, they will have to work under or work for, or even have a lot of employees under them that are men. And so I think these values need to be accepted eventually. And I think also men need to learn from these experiences. There's a lot of sexism there are a lot of men who are sexist, and they do it unintentionally. It's just embedded in their, I guess, culture or how they grew up. So I think these kind of things slowly need to change, especially in these workforces where we all need to work together. And it all comes down to how we grow up and our values of, going to single-sex schools. It might help you educational-wise, but if you look at the bigger picture, you really need to know how to work with a lot of people, including different sex, and not just different sex, but like different, backgrounds and just cultural things as well. Yeah.
I mean, this topic gives us really a lot to think about. So maybe we can talk about it once more in a future episode on NewsGen. So if you have your thoughts or opinions on same-sex schools, please leave a comment below on today's NewsGen's episode. And that's all from us today, but NewsGen will be back tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Kwon Ju-yeon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and Park Ki-yoon.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.